Yeah, please, no noise. We are about to start. Please, everybody, put your earpiece and make sure that it doesn't interfere.
Producing. Okay. But yesterday when it was still showing that 41, 41, I say, and I didn't say anything wrong. And I now commented it out and I run it and it's
Uh, Remy, mute yourself. So has everybody joined so that we can get started? Yeah, welcome. I'm going to quickly share my screen so that we can start. Oh, I've not even opened the VS Code. Hello and welcome. Today we'll be looking at Tcenter. You can also call it Tcenter or Tcenter. Tcenter is a graphical user interface GUI model for Python. It is the most commonly used GUI for Python. You remember until now, all the codes we've been writing, if we want to run them, we'll run them in the terminal, isn't it? So when they run in the terminal, you see the effect in the terminal. Are you still seeing my picture on your screen? Or is it the VS Code that is showing? What is showing? Okay. So when you run your code in the terminal, let's say you want to print out, I am in the class. You understand? So when you type in Python space, the name of the file, you see that I am in the class in the console. It comes out in the console under the running code, isn't it? But today, with the GUI, Tcenter GUI model, when you run your code, it will no longer come out in that console. It's going to come out as a graphical user interface, something you can see. And so when you create your application, just like the VS Code you're using, once you start it, it comes out. You can see it. You understand? It's not running in the console. It comes out. So GUI will enable you to do that. Tcenter GUI model will enable you to do that. Tcenter is not the only GUI that we have. Is that clear? Tcenter is not the only GUI available. There are other GUI models or GUI libraries that you can use in doing your design. But Tcenter is the most common and it is the basic and it comes with Python so that you don't need to do pip install. And it is very, it can do a whole lot of things. You can use it to build desktop application. And that is what we're going to be looking at. And it is with this Tcenter that we're going to be building the project for this course, which is an inventory. So in our 2.0 of Python, we are going to be learning how to use Django to build web application. But for now, we're going to build a simple desktop application for inventory. And that is what we're going to do this evening when we resume. But for now, we are going to learn how to use this Tcenter. So that's what we're going to be learning today. And with that said, let me quickly share my screen so that we can start. Okay. Yes. Can we see my screen clearly? Is it clear? Huh? Okay. So from what we have here, you can see our file.py, where we looked at file operations, models.py, where we looked at what models can do, JSON, OOP.py, and the rest of them. So those are the things we've been learning so far. And we are coming to the end of learning the basics in Python by doing tick enter. So to do this, I'm quickly going to hover over the Python tutorial folder. Then I get to new file. So under new file, we want to create a new file. So what's going to be the name of this file? We're going to call it tick enter GUI dot py. That's the name, tick enter GUI dot py. Tick enter GUI dot py. That's the file we just created. That's the file we'll be working on. So for you to create a tick enter, you simply need to import the model, and the name of the model is tick enter. Then after importing the model, you need to create the main window, which is the container. Then you can then add any amount of widget that you want on the main window. And finally, you can apply the event trigger. So as we normally do, I'm going to start by telling us what tick enter is using a comment. That is our tradition, so that when you're looking at the comments, you can actually understand what your code is doing. I hope everybody can hear me very well. So we're going to actually design a simple tick enter that will teach us how to, from scratch, build out our window and build out a simple addition and subtraction application. So when we are done with this, in the evening when we'll resume again, we're going to be looking at the inventory. That's what we'll look at in the evening. But this morning, we'll try to understand what tick enter is all about, how we can use it to work. So that's what we're going to do this morning. Then in the evening, we're going to go fully into using tick enter to do our build out our project. So let's wait small moment, wait a little bit so that everybody can join. Ola, do we have Ola on the call? And Odinaka?
Yes, sir. Allah is here, sir. Good morning, sir.
What of Odinaka? Are you there? Yeah, is Odinaka on the call? Okay, so let's quickly start. So I'm gonna say that tick enter, that's the spelling, tick enter is a graphical user interface for Python. So tick enter is a graphical user interface for Python. It is actually a standard Python interface. So it is a standard Python interface. So there are other ones. We can be looking at them later, like the Kiwi and the rest. If you want to build a desktop application or an Android app, you can also look at Kiwi. Kiwi is another GUI that is very, very effective. So maybe if we have Python 3.0, maybe we'll still look at that so that you can learn how to use Python to do desktop and Android applications. But to tick enter is very basic, and that's why we're going to be looking at it. So now we're going to look at how to create an application using tick enter. How do you create an application using tick enter? So what's the procedure like if you want to create an application using tick enter? I'm going to use a multi-line comment so that I can include everything there. So what and what is involved? Number one, you need to do what? Import the model. That's the number one thing you do. Import the model. And what is the name of the model? Tick enter. That's the number one thing you do. So number two thing you do is that you now do what? Create. So number one, you import the model. Number two, you create the main window. That's the next thing you do. Create the main window. And this main window, you can also call it the container. So once you're done doing that, what's the next thing you do? You now add any number of widgets. So it uses widgets, and using widgets is a very advisable way of doing your graphical user interface. So add any number of widgets in the main window. Okay, then after that, the last thing you do then will be to apply the event trigger on the widgets, because you want these widgets to perform function whenever they are clicked. So you have to apply this by writing functions for each of them. So that is how you create a tick enter. And now we're going to start creating a tick enter application, having done the procedure. So if we are following the procedure that I've just listed, what's the first thing you do? The first thing is to do what? Import tick enter. So I can simply say import tick enter, or I can also say what? From tick enter, import all. So I'm teaching you this so that you know the various ways you can do your importation. That means import everything inside the model tick enter. So when you use that asterisk, simply means all. So having imported tick enter, what's the next thing you do from the what is given there? You create the main window. That's the next thing. So we simply say window equal to, and this window, you create it from the class tk enter. So you simply say tk, that's the class. Then you put your brackets. That's how you create an object. We all know that. We learned that in object-oriented programming. So once you do that, inside here now is where you then add the what? Here is where you add the what? widgets. So this is where you add the widgets. Then after adding the widgets, you have to do what? That your main window has to have a title. So you say window dot title in order to give it a title. So what do you want to give it as the title? We'll simply say, welcome to Tclassified.com ICT Center. Welcome to Tclassified.com ICT Center. That's the title of this. You can enter. Then this is your main window. It's also going to have a geometry. You want to know the size. So it's going to have a geometry. So what is the geometry? It's going to have, let's make it 400 by, let's make it 400 by 300. That's the geometry. And let's add a proper padding to it. Say 10 by 20. So that is the size of our window. And finally, for us, this application we created to appear, for it to run, we now have to run the main loop by saying window.main loop. So once you do this and save your work, Control S, and you come down here and run, and we all know how to run. How do we run, class? We run by simply saying Python space what? What's the name of this file? Tick enter GUI dot py. Then we'll press the enter key. Then we're going to wait for our first application that is going to look fine to come out. Press it. It's not just going to come out as the console, it's going to come out. You can see it is up here now, and you can see the title, Welcome to Tclassified ICT Center. And you can see the size is what? 400 by 300. And that is how you create a tick enter application. Isn't it simple? Class, isn't it simple? So if you're going to be building a calculator in future, you're going to be using this tick enter. We're going to teach you how to bring in things. If you're building an inventory, that is how you do it. So I'm going to give a few minutes for people to ask questions on the description that I've given about tick enter and how we came about this box. So if you have your question, you can ask your question, because I want all of us to follow through effectively, because what we are learning today is something that you're going to be using to work on a daily basis. You're going to be creating your application, whether it's desktop application or any form of application. So tick enter is a very good model for you to do that. So I'm going to leave us to ask me a few questions while we'll continue. Yeah, it's like there's no question, so we're going to quickly continue. So can we add widgets? It's like somebody dropped a chart. Let me check out the chart and see what the person is saying. Yes, Ibope, are you here now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you just joined.
No, I've been with you from the beginning. I did not see that
Okay.
application. It did not come up here.
Okay, but now have you written what I've already written?
Yes.
Is your own working effectively?
No.
Okay, so check it out, check it out, check it out. So this is what we run, and to run this, the name of this file is tclassified.py. So we run it, and immediately we run it, this came out, this empty box. You can mute yourself now, okay, please. Okay. The level we are in now is a very, very effective level. Please make sure you're grabbing it. We are in the building phase. All the Python, the basics I've been teaching all this while since the beginning of the week. This is when you start employing them to build applications that will make you the next name in the ICT world, in the country, Nigeria, and in the world. So, and that is why I've taken my time to highlight all this. I told us that Tcenter is a graphical user interface model for Python. And it is a standard Python interface. That means it comes with Python and you can use it to create applications. And how you do that is by importing Tcenter model, and that's what I did in this line 11. Then you create a window, which is the container. That's what I did in line 13. Then you add widgets. I've not added widget, but I indicated where you can add widget. Then you apply the event trigger, which I did not do yet because we don't have widget to apply the event trigger. Then this window that we created, we had to add title. And that is why we are seeing this title, Welcome to Tclassified.com ICT. Then the geometry is simply the size of this. You can see the size now. If I increase this size by saying 800 by 700, you see that this box will increase in size. So immediately after the creating, you say window.mainLoop, which is the main function that brings it out. So once you run, you're gonna see this. So that's how we come about this. So now I'm gonna try to add some widgets. I'm gonna try to add some widgets. So what widgets can I add? Are we together? Can we go? Good, everybody is together. So let's quickly add some widgets. So the first widget I'm gonna add is what we'll call a button. So I'm gonna add a button by simply saying, I'm giving it the name BTN. So BTN is simply the name, the variable name of the button. But to bring in a button, you have to bring in the button class by saying button. We want to create a button object. So you say button. So where do you want to put the button? Want to put it in your main window. And on that button, what do you want to be written on the button? What do you want to be written on the button? So on the button, I simply want to write, what do I write there? This is a button. Let me just simply write, this is a button. So that when you see it, you will know. So this is a button widget. So all those things you bring in, we call them widgets, whether it's button or anything. So this is a button widget. If you want to give the button a foreground color, you simply say FG. That's what it means. FG simply means foreground color. So I'm giving it a foreground color of, say, yellow. So that is how you create a button function, a button widget. Now, after creating this button, you need to add it to the window. So how do you add it to the window? There are many ways. You can use grid. You can use grid to add. This is what we call place to add. So I simply say btn, which is button dot place. I want to place it in. So what geography, where in particular do I want to place it in? I want to place it at the value of x equal to 60, and where, okay, let's place it at where x equal to 80, and where y is equal to 100. So if I do this and save by doing Control S, I'm gonna close up the GUI I had before. Then I'm gonna come down here and run now by saying Python space tk enter GUI.py. So you can now see my button is there. It's not very clear because it's in yellow. So let me change the color. Let me change the background foreground color from yellow to, is it green? So let's try green. So if I do Control S and I come back and run again, I'm gonna see that you can see this is button widget. Can everybody see that? Okay, so that is how you bring in a button. Oh, my screen, is it showing? Okay, or you can see my screen, but okay. So check out where you have your error. You're not seeing it, check out where you have your error. So that's the first widget that we just brought in. So if you must use a button, that's how you bring in your button widget. Now we're going to look at bringing in a label. And to bring in a label, okay, let me quickly name this button widgets because we want this to be very clear. So this is button widgets. So that's how you bring a button widget. So let's bring another widget. I'm going to simply copy this and come down here and paste. And what widget do I want to bring in now? I want to bring in what? A label widget. So how do you bring in a label widget? So I'm going to simply call the variable name LBL, signifying label. And we are creating an object of label from the class, which is the blueprint. And the class is what? Label. You know, class name starts with capital letter, so take note of that. So where is the label going to be in? It's going to be inside the window. But what text do we want to be on the label? We'll simply say this is a label widget. And we want a foreground color as well. So what foreground color do we give? Let's give it a red. So where do we place this label widget? Where do we place it? Let's place it on top by saying x equal to 60 and y equal to 50. Let's place it there. So apart from the foreground, there are other things that we can also give, other formatting. So I'm going to include more by saying font because I want to pick a font style. So if I say font, I simply say equal to, then in brackets and in single or double quotes, I'm going to write the font. And the font I'm going to be using is Helvetica. If you check your fonts, you see that there is a font known as Helvetica. So that's the font. And I also want to give it a font size of 16. So font style of Helvetica, font style of 16. So I'm going to save this. And once I save, I'll come down here and close the one I had before so that when I run the new one, I will see the effect. So I'm simply going to come here and do Python tick enter.py and press the enter key. So I'm seeing this is a button widget, but I'm not seeing a label. So let me check through again and see what where the mistake is from. Okay, we have a window text.
The btn dot place instead of label dot place.
Yeah?
Btn dot place, the second line of the label.
Okay, my btn dot place, I still place btn instead of placing label. So it has to be LPL. So Control S to save. Thank you. See, Allah is following so well. Allah has become a professional already.
Sir, you are whining me.
No, you're a professional now. Your level is on another level.
No, I'm just following your lead. I'm just following your lead, sir.
You see the way you dictate errors even before the class. Anybody sees this, you've already. I like your improvements, and I'm so impressed by you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So I'm gonna close this so that the new one will come out. You can see the new one. This is a level widget. This is a button with it. So that's how you bring in levels. I hope we're enjoying it. It's very clear. Tick enter. The first time we looked at it, it looked as if it's very difficult, but now you can see that it's so easy. It's so easy. So let's bring in another widget. Let's just still copy this. Very simple. See, this work is so simple. Programming is very simple. Don't let somebody tell you that it's difficult and you'll be discouraged. You don't want to do it. So which widget are we bringing in? Let's bring in what we call text input or entry. We call it entry in Python. We call it entry. So let's bring in an entry. Entry is where a widget that will enable you to type in. Let's say you collect first name, second, last name, all those kind of things. You use entry. There are every kind of widgets are available. You can have radio button, check button, all those kind of elements that you see in a form, you can bring them in. So let's bring in an entry. How do we bring in an entry class? So let's call our entry text field because that's what we're going to be using it for. So call it text field. Let's just call it TXT FLD text field. So what kind of widget is text field? Text field is entry. So the class, the blueprint we are creating the object is from is entry. So where are we going to put it? We are going to put it in the window, main window. And what text do we want to be on it? We simply want to say, this is an entry widget. This is what? An entry widget. This is an entry widget. So if we want the letters written in it to be bold, we can format that by saying, by simply saying BD bolding the letters to the size of what? 5. So once we do that, we can simply place it. Let's not make the same mistake again. So we simply say TST FLD, place it. And where do we want to place it? We simply want to place it at 8150. So let's place it at 8150. So if I run this by saying Control S, and I come down and say my normal Python space, tick enter.py, as you see, you can see, I'm having it there. This is my box. This is my box. So this is an entry box. You can type in things inside the entry box. Very importantly, what else do I bring in? So we brought in a button, we brought in a label, and we brought in a text field. So that is how to create a simple GUI. But if we look at our points, we say that after importing the model and creating the widget, the main container, creating the widgets, you will now write the function that will trigger the widgets to work. So we're going to try to create an application where we can have function that will trigger once in such a way that if we have something like this, let's say we put 10 or 67 here, then if we add it and once we press add this button, it will add up. So we want to be able to create an application that can do that. And that is what we are going to be doing in 30 minutes time. So use 30 minutes to get yourself used to what we are doing. Some people could not join us up in our subsequent classes because they didn't know where we are starting. So the time now is what? Please, somebody should tell me the time. What's the time now?
The time is
10:34. That's the time now. So by exactly 11 o'clock, we are going to be starting another class of still TK Enter. But this time around, we are going to be building it, making it to be in form of a function. We can use it just like a calculator. We are building a simple addition calculator by 11 o'clock sharp. So join up, get yourself ready, warm up, because it's going to be very interesting. So that's what we're going to be doing. So I thank you all for joining, and I'm also grateful for the way you guys are understanding what we're teaching. I've been enjoying it of late because you guys are understanding so well. So by sharp 11 o'clock, we are going to be looking at other things. Thank you, and God bless you. See you when I see you. See you when I see you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop share from Ipoke, okay? Please share your screen for the loaded app. Okay, how do we import pictures? Okay, Boko was actually asking me how to share my screen for the. So the loaded app was not showing on my own. Hi. Okay, I'm still on, ba. Please let me show you people the loaded app. Oh, I didn't know it was not showing. I'm still. You guys are still seeing me, ba. So let me share the screen for the loaded app. Please, this is the screen for the loaded app. I'm so sorry. I didn't know that it was not showing. Can everybody see it now? So this is the label, the button we added. This is the label, and this is the text impute. So if you can see it, please let me know. Say it. You people should say that you've seen it now. Okay.
Yeah, we've seen it. Sorry, sir.
Okay.
Please, can you go back to the code?
Okay, to the code.
Yes,
okay,
sir.
Let me go back to the code. Let me go to share screen again. Then to the code. Can you see the code now?
Yes, sir. But the screen, the app screen is blocking it.
Good. Okay, you're not seeing both the code and the app screen now, but
Yes, yes.
why? Why didn't I do it like this in the first place?
I have a question.
Okay. Please let me recap. Let me recap now that we've seen both of them. You understand?
Yes, sir.
So let me quickly recap. I explained all these. Then before I started adding code, I want to show you guys something.
This side. Oh, my own is really different. But your own came to it. I'm talking about the box. The box. Okay. There's no difference.
Everybody will be.
Let me see what you are using. I'm not using anything. You're not using anything. And that's what I want to know what that is.
Please put your put your earpiece so that it doesn't echo. So let me comment out everything, all the widgets I added. I think that's where before we started having the issue. So these are all the widgets. So I'm commenting them out. You can see them. So all these widgets commented out. I initially wrote only the importation. I imported TK Enter by saying from TK Enter import everything. Then I created this initial window, gave it a title, a geometry. Then when I ran, let's run it now and see the impact. So this is the finished work. But before this finished work, let's run this and see what we had. So this is what we had before the finished work. Okay, I did not save. Let me Control S to save. This is the finished work. But before the finished work, the first thing we had was this. This is what we had, the empty tick enter. Can everybody see this empty tick enter? Is it showing on your screens?
Yes, sir.
Huh?
Yes, sir.
Please, the tick enter, is it showing?
Yes, sir.
It's showing now.
Yes, sir.
I don't mean the one you run by yourself. I mean on my own screen that I'm sharing. Can you see this empty tick enter?
Yes, it's showing.
Good, thank you. So immediately after having this, I added the button widget. So let me comment out this. So I added the button widget. That's the first thing I did. So if I add this button widget and say Control S, I added it and I placed it. So if I come now and run again, so I'm gonna close this and run again. So you can see the button widget. The right up here is green because I added a foreground color of green here. So this is only the widget here, only the button widget. Then after that, I added the label widget. So let me remove the comment to bring it up. I'm gonna say Control S to save. So when I added the label widget, this is what this is what came out. You can see this is the label widget. It's on top because of the positioning. So after adding the label widget, I finally added the entry widget. And I said that entry is when you want to bring in a text field or an input. So when I do Control S and I close this and rerun, I didn't have this. So this is the complete tick enter. So please look at this again, revise it, and get used to them. So in subsequent class, we are going to be looking at how to use this GUI tick enter to build a better application. Yeah.
I have a question. Okay, at the geometry, we have 400 by 300
Yeah.
plus 10 plus 10. So the 10 and 10, what is the function? Because I remove the 10 and 10 and we run, I see showing this, there's no difference on the app.
Okay. You're going to see more of the effect of that and what will have plenty widget on it. But currently, we are just having few. Okay, thank you. And until yeah, sharp 11.